All right, we are live. All right. Welcome, everyone. It is a Friday afternoon, and we have a very special guest for our emerging conversations, Miss Wendy Thomas, who is the Regional Director of the Southeast Michigan Small Business Development Center. And I say that with such enthusiasm because I have watched this young lady grow and do so many amazing things. And we are blessed to have her here this afternoon to talk to us about marketing research. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Wendy, before I get started, are there a few things you want to say about the Small Business Development Center?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Michigan SBDC, we are a national program. We cover the entire state of Michigan. And our primary goal really is to support small businesses. And we do that through no-cost consulting, market research, as well as a variety of training programs, really focused to help small business owners navigate through not just launching their business, but also navigating through the different ups, ebbs, and flows, really, of small business ownership.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to jump right into it because it's Friday afternoon, and I did promise that I would be brief. So get right to it. So why should a business engage themselves in doing market research?
Absolutely. So market research is an incredible tool to be able to make good decisions. And so we call it a decision-making tool. And while, sometimes when you think about market research, it's not necessarily the most glamorous thing that a business owner can do, but it's so critical because it helps you to understand why people want to buy your goods or services. It helps you to understand what's the most effective way to use those marketing dollars and how do you reach your target market. And essentially, that's the reason why you're in business, right? To make money, to be able to serve your customers. And so it's a critical step in really understanding your business and the market in which you serve.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So are there some processes that people should engage themselves in or use to get the most out of doing market research?
Absolutely. So the first thing really is to acquaint yourself with the different resources that are available. The Michigan SBDC, as I mentioned, one of the core pieces of what we do is helping clients get access to secondary market research. So this is beyond a Google search. You can put information in about your industry into Google and you'll get some information back. A lot of it is just ads for you to be able to pay for things. But what we have an access at no cost to our clients, we actually pay for those the market research information. And so some of the things that you might be looking for, you want to better understand who your competitors are. You want to be able to make sure that you are positioned to have a competitive advantage over your competitors. And so part of that information that we're digging into revolves around, first of all, understanding your industry, making sure that you're in an industry that can support what you're doing. You want to make sure that your industry is growing and not on the decline. You want to make sure that there's enough margins for actually money to be made within your industry. And so we dig pretty deep into understanding your industry and then how to use that information to position yourself strategically so that you can compete successfully within that industry.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So what should I do? I'm getting started with my business. I'm all excited. I got all the passion. I'm feeling good about it. But how should I actually prepare to do my market research? Are there some things I need to pay close attention to or research before the research?
Absolutely. So there's something that we call primary research. And so let's say that you make the best cakes in the world and you think that there is a market for making cakes. Well, that first primary research is really to test out the concept, test out whether or not this is going to work. I mean, if you say, hey, I make the best pie, and if your mom is co-signing it, that's great. But you want to make sure that other people, the masses, are saying, wow, you know what? You're right. That is the best cake I've ever tasted. And so the best way to do that is do some primary research. Understand who your competitors are. If you have a local business, you want to make sure that you've checked out other bakeries in the area. If you're online, you want to see who your online competition is, which tends to be a much wider and larger audience. And then start thinking about, there are 10 companies within the a 5 mile radius that sells chocolate cakes. Well, what are you going to do differently? Maybe you use all organic ingredients. And so maybe that's going to be your competitive advantage. So you have to do some of that preliminary research to find out, where you fit in the marketplace. And then at the SBDC, we can take that primary information, and then we can actually supplement it with secondary market research information and take a deeper dive into what's going to make you stand out and unique about your small business.
Okay. Okay. Are those things too to find like at the next code, the next?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So the next code, and I'm probably going to botch this, the North American Industrial Standard Classification code.
There you go. There you
it.
go. You got it. Look at you.
Yeah. So this code is really used to identify your industry, and every industry has what we call a NAICS code. And so we'll use that NAICS code to actually get your secondary market research. And so if you say that you're in the restaurant business, we'll actually use that code to be able to get industry information, find out what the industry is doing right now. Is it growing? Is it declining? Who the competitors are within that industry. And then another really good point, if you're looking to get financing, a lender is going to validate whether or not this industry and this business makes sense.
Yes.
And so what we do is take those exact same tools on our end, and at no cost to you, before you walk into that loan officer's door or submit that application, we're going to help you validate whether or not it makes sense to move forward in that industry. And so we use that information. Again, it's a decision-making tool for those who take that information and use it. But it also helps prepare you and understand your industry, particularly if you're going for financing.
Okay. Okay. All right. So are there some non-negotiables, baseline things that people should look for when they're doing research?
Absolutely. The non-negotiable is determining, your position within the industry, having that baseline information on the industry itself. If you go into an industry that's on the decline, so you have to make that decision at that moment to say, wait a minute, according to this information, there's no money to be made. There's no profit to be had. The margins are very tight. So at that point, you can use that information to decide on whether or not you're going to move forward. You can also use that information if you're already in business. Let's say that you want to tap into a new market. You want to touch a new industry. And you say, well, let me see if they can afford my services. Let me figure out what that particular industry is doing. And if you find that, industry A is just not going to support what you want to do, that'll help you decide, you know what, I'm not going to spend my money and time investing in that industry when this is just not going to work for us financially. So I may take a look at industry B and C and move forward with those industry because it's more lucrative for my small business.
I got you. So what if I'm just in love? I'm romancing this business idea. What do you what advice do you have for someone like that? Just won't let it go because they might really be on to something. But
absolutely. So one of the things that, and particularly if you're working with our small business consultants, we want to help you validate whether or not it makes sense, right? So we want to say, because again, if you're not making money out of this idea, then it's really just a hobby, right? It's just a hobby. But if you truly want to make money, you truly want to be profitable, we use this information to help you understand, does it make sense? Does this industry support what I'm trying to do? Will I be able to make money from this? So we take you and we don't know going in all the time whether or not it's going to be, it makes sense to move forward. We let the data tell us, what are the chances? And again, it's not an exact science. Sometimes the information can be a couple of years old, usually 3 to 5 years old. And that's okay, but it gives us a baseline as to whether or not it makes sense. So we're gonna ask that you do primary research, but we're gonna work together with you to take that data, the primary research and the secondary research, and to validate that it makes sense to go forward. And you could be passionate about the idea, and we tell people, let's look at the numbers. We're not going to make any guesstimation about whether or not this makes sense. So let's look at the numbers, and then we're going to say, let's develop a plan around this before we spend any money. So let's develop a plan around this and see if it makes sense. Let's do some financial projections based upon what you've put together. And then if we see that there's a chance that you can be profitable, that you can make some money, because otherwise it's just a hobby, then we're going to help work with you to move forward with that process.
Excellent. Oh, wow. That was really good. Wait a minute, I'm sweating. That's really good. So much. That's really good. Okay, so are there some things that a person might want to, adjustments you might want to make as you're doing your research due to the COVID-19 or the pandemic that we're dealing with? Are there some adjustments that should be made, or some things that might need to be paid closer attention to?
Absolutely. So COVID-19 has essentially upset the apple cart. And so what we're seeing is a lot of small businesses that are having to pivot in terms of the way that they do business, in terms of the way that they market, in terms of the way that they, they'll receive customers. And so part of what and again, this is something that, none of us have had to deal with before. And so for those businesses are looking to open or to reopen, you have to think strategically about it. It's no longer, here's my business plan, here's my research data. We're dealing in uncharted waters. And so, again, we are asking our small businesses as they begin to move forward is to think strategically. You have to put in place safety measures as a result of COVID-19, particularly if you're in the service business. Some businesses are not going to go back to brick and mortar. They've made a decision that, they did okay online, and so they're now going to boost their e-commerce. So they've really changed their business model. And many businesses are having to rethink their business model with the thought that, there's potential that there could be a second wave. There's potential that in the future there could be another pandemic. And so we're having businesses think about emergency plans. We're having businesses think about, how do I pivot in the midst of the world going forward in terms of how we do business. And so part of what we're having conversations with our small business owners is, how do we do this strategically with that in mind with the pandemic?
All right. Well, I want to thank you, but before we go, are there some things that you want to say about the SBDC? You've said a lot, but is there some points that you want to reiterate about working with the small business development centers?
Absolutely. We are here to support small businesses. As we did before the pandemic, we are especially ramping up that support. The SBDC, through some CARES Act funding, we've actually expanded our counseling base. So we have additional consultants who have joined us for the purposes of helping those businesses navigate through this current pandemic. In addition to that, something that has not been heard of before through the SBDC is we're also supporting businesses, particularly existing businesses, in the way of paid services. So, for example, you are trying to renegotiate your lease because you've been affected negatively by COVID-19, or just because your business has stopped. We are now looking to pay for services on behalf of the client. And so we will use that money until it runs out, and it's my intent to use any funds available that we have to pay for services. If you've got a website, now you've had to now go to e-commerce. When you were brick and mortar, we'll have web design services, we'll have e-commerce services, accounting, your books, and maybe you did a poor job before COVID-19, and now you can take advantage of these services in spite of that and say, hey, I realized that my books were a mess, before COVID-19. COVID-19 made it worse. Well, we are actually offering paid services to help you get your books back in order or set up systems. If you have QuickBooks and you've not used it, we're going to have services in place. Again, they're paid at no cost to you. So we're happy to announce that. If anyone wants to reach me, I can, Lawrence has my information, and certainly you can feel free to reach out to me via email, and I will get you connected to a consultant, and we'll work with you and help you to hopefully move forward and grow stronger within your small business. Excellent.
Wendy, can you give us the SBDC's website address?
Absolutely. So it's going to be www.sbdcmichigan.org. So that's S as in Sam, M as in Mall. Wait, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's Friday. S as in Sam, B as in boy, D as in development, and C as in center, and Michigan spelled out, .org.
All right. Excellent.
And if you like, Lawrence, I can give out my email address, or if you want to give it out to them, happy either way. My email address is wthomas, THOMAS, 1, at emich, which is EMICH.edu.
Excellent. And is that the best way to contact you?
Yep, that's the best. That's the best way to reach me, and I will get back with you in 24 to 48 hours. Try to get back to folks right away, and we'll get you connected to the most appropriate person and get you moving forward.
Excellent, excellent. Wendy, I just want to say thank you so much, and
Pleasure.
it's a pleasure to know you. And I wish you all the best. Wish you all the best. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our conversation. But do take advantage of the opportunities that are offered with the Small Business Development Center here in Michigan. And again, Wendy, we thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Goodbye.